Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Want to talk about the latest headlines, big ones this week. More big spending for Ukraine, and reportedly to date we've spent 113 billion on Ukraine in aid. And earlier this week, Joe Biden pledged another 325 million. Of course, if you've read my book, Number Games, I talk about the significance of 113 and 325 with regards to coronavirus. And of course, if you've been following my work, you know what the connection is with the COVID pandemic ending pretty much in its first phase at the same time Russia-Ukraine fired up. And if not, we'll review those things, but I want to talk about why these dollar figures are in front of our eyes, 113 billion and 325 million. They are very specific numbers to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which has its headquarters in Washington, D.C., and which has their symbolism all over our dollar bills. So made a big point about those exact numbers in my book about the pandemic in 2020. We'll start right there. Other things to talk about: the new bulletproof classrooms that are rolling out nationwide. Where part of where I grew up in my life was the suburb of Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington. And I saw that my former schools have been torn down where I actually went to school when I was younger, and they've been rebuilt, and the new schools look like fortresses with big metal gates around them. Before, they were just open campuses that anyone could walk on at any time of day, but now all the windows are tinted, big metal gates. I'm sure cameras galore. And as I just saw it with my own eyes visiting my mom the other day. They just finished building these schools recently, but I was just thinking, this is the new post 9/11 mass shooter era school right here. It looks like a fortress. It looks like almost a prison in a sense. And when we always made the point when we were kids in school how the food truck, it would drop off the food we'd eat at lunchtime, and then it would go drop off the same food at the prison. They were feeding us the same thing as the prisoners, that state food. So I want to talk about those things. Also want to touch on CNN's story about how Deion Sanders is the hero African Americans want right now at age 56. That special number. And I might talk about a few more things, but really right here, again, numbers are a language. Washington, D.C., known as the Masonic City, named after George Washington, the Freemason. Again, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry has their headquarters in D.C. for the jurisdiction, the House of the Temple, the one with 33 columns on the outside that are each 33 feet tall, where in Gematria, masonry equals 33, so does secrecy, so does federal, so does order. All those words, 33. The federal city, the Masonic city, the 33 city. But 113, a number of the Scottish Rite, and 325, also a number of the Scottish Rite. And something I've talked about many a times with the Scottish Rite. Look at the way this is written. This is right from the government's website. This is the U.S. Department of Defense website. Biden meets with Ukraine president as U.S. sends 325 million arms package. This is on top of the 113 billion already spent. This is in addition to. So it says the package includes additional air defense equipment, artillery rounds, anti-tank weapons, and other equipment to meet Ukraine's urgent needs on the battlefield to counter Russia's ongoing war of aggression. President Joe Biden unveiled the aid package after meeting with Zelensky at the White House. We're committed to help Ukraine build a force capable of ensuring Ukraine's long-term security, capable of deterring future threats against sovereignty, territorial integrity, and freedom, which are underway now, Biden said, because that's what this is all about, the future of freedom. America will never walk away from that. The latest round of assistance marks the 47th drawdown of equipment from Defense Department inventories from Ukraine since August 2021 and reflects the United States' enduring commitment in the face of Russian aggression. So, the 47th drawdown. Again, I'm the guy that's always had the campaign, what is 47 in regards to federal government shenanigans? And if you're new here, 47, very special number to government authority from this Kabbalistic code of putting letters into numbers. Notice this right here. This was at 3:25 local time when it happened. 3:25. Not by accident. Again, just like Trump was in office when they were doing the huge 325 ritual, and he's making all the money for the banks at the beginning of COVID while the Bank of England was 325 years old. But notice, Trump on the campaign trail, I've done more in 47 months than Biden's done in 47 years. Again, in Gematria, if you're new here, Gematria is very simple practice, coding numbers into words. There are 4 ciphers you want to know. They are all important. They're part of a system. It's the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. Notice in this system, president, White House, government, authority, Republican, Whig, Democrat, DC, Trump, they're all 47. And the list goes beyond that. Joe Biden was the 47th vice president of the United States. He became a senator in 73, meaning he won election in 2020, 47 years later, and he was once the VP, again, number 47 in terms of the VP, but he took office with 47-year-old Obama, and then Trump was in the 47-story Midtown Hilton Hotel the night he won back in 2016. This is a special number, 47. If you want to add to this list, Ukraine also equals 47, and here they're talking about this announcement of $325 million at the time of the 47th drawdown. And for years, we've been talking about where all these numbers come together with Masonry and the nation's capital. Again, in Gematria, notice Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is 325. Scottish Rite of hold on, let me just take this real quick. It's Sweet Lady, and I'll tell her I'll call her back. The love, I can't talk right now, but I will call you back later, or we can talk when you get home, okay? All right. Love you. Okay, sorry. If I don't answer, she always thinks something's up. Anyway, 325 number of Scottish Rite of Freemasonry in Gematria. If you run the alphabetic order in reverse, for the record, Joe Biden's full name, Joseph Robinette Biden's also 325. But again, 113 billion to date, an additional 325 million. These things at the same time, the word Scottish alone is 113. Again, they got their headquarters in DC. And the Scottish Rite of France, their compass, their logo, the capital G with the compass and square, they set the compass at 47 degrees. The word France is also 47. Remember the Jesuits, who've been in D.C. for longer than the federal government. They created the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The Jesuits were created in France. The Scottish Rite came to power in France. A lot of the founders studied in France. So the other 47 word is France. And again, the letters D.C. even in reverse. And D.C. was laid out by the French Freemason L'Enfant. But D.C. also 47. This nation's birthday, the 4th day of the 7th month. Lincoln, who made the Republican Party from the Whig Party, who said 7 years ago. With regards to the Masons, again, the Scottish Rite of France, the compass kicked out each leg at 23.5 degrees, like the tropics of this earth, which are separated by 47 degrees. Again, 47 is the number. The top of the compass, in the Masonic language, they call it the pole star, which also has the gematria 47. The Masons celebrate the 47th problem of Euclid. Again, they're builders. Numbers, mathematics, it all goes together. Words like foundation and framework are 47, as is the word time. And again, the tropics of this earth are 47 degrees apart, and they measure the time by the solstices naturally. So again, long lessons, right? These posts talking about this stuff, this is 2017 here, and again, these aren't the first posts, but we've been on these things for all this time, but back in 2017, this was documented back before the first channel was deleted. Now we've had 20-some channels deleted just for teaching lessons like this. But think about it. Just think about how perfect it is, right? To use these same numbers again. These numbers are the Scottish Rite, the omnipresent secret society in the nation's capital where these financial agreements are coming out of. And then again, where did I learn about this from? I learned about this from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, a man who wrote many books, who said a lot of the founders were part of something called the Order of the Quest, which was about something much bigger than America, something that had the sights on a one-world government. He makes it sound like it was a nice thing, though. Maybe once upon a time this idea was nice. It was supposed to be based on like justice, truth, philosophy. Now you see that this one world order is a real thing, and it's been hijacked by, greedy people who don't care anything about their own power and ability to control the masses. It's power and control game. Period. But yeah, 47th drawdown. So that's the 47th reduction of the U.S. military, plus all the financial assistance. So, I mean, it's not just that these dollar terms. It's like we're giving them dollars, plus we're giving them the nation's defense. The 47th drawdown, the 47th time we sent them some weaponry or whatever it is in each of the times it's happened. But think about how much wealth we're giving to this nation. And here in the United States of America, how many communities are there that have hardly seen any intervention from the feds and could have used it for decades? And things have only gotten worse and worse and worse. You know, American taxpayers, people in those poor neighborhoods who already don't have anything, who have to pay taxes. They haven't seen really anything back in their lifetime. Now they're paying for Ukraine. And don't forget all the rituals we've documented in the build-up to Ukraine and how we accurately forecasted when the whole military thing would set off between Russia and Ukraine, because it's all a ritual. But yeah, the Gematria list, again, just with regards to the 47th drawdown, one more time to make sure it sticks. Ukraine, of course, is 47. Joe Biden, the 47th VP, who took office with 47-year-old Obama, who was in office for 47 years before he became president-elect. Again, in Gematria, President, White House, Government Authority, Christian, Republican, Democrat, DC, News, they're all 47. Christian, presidents always claiming to be Christian, putting their hand on the Bible. Again, we're on the Catholic Church's calendar, speaking their language, the ones who gave us the Bible as we knew it. DC, the Jesuit stronghold with all the Roman architecture. Keep in mind the nation's birthday. Not only can it be written 4/7 like 47, it can also be written 7/4. Again, 3 of the first 5 U.S. presidents died on 7/4. 2 of them died on the same day, Jefferson and Adams, who were worried about what would happen when the Jesuits came out of suppression. You know what? Something that happened that was funny today. Here, I'll finish this point and then I'll tell you what was funny that happened today. But again, 7/4. The word holiday 74, like Masonic, like the king, like occult, like English, like Gematria, like Jewish, like Lucifer. I should have put up the word killing and the word stabbing, like the Ides of March to remember the killing of Caesar by stabbing on the 74th day of the year, going with 3 of the first 5 presidents dying on 7/4. But again, it's the Society of Jesus, the Jesuit order, all roads lead to Rome. Also up there should be the word Roman, Roman 74. So is Jesus, cross, Messiah, gospel, parables. Jesus Christ is 74, the small way. So is George Washington. Again, George Washington at the Capitol building has an open tomb like Jesus and is painted up on the ceiling, looking down from the clouds like he's Jesus. Just think about it. Just think about it. And with regards to 325 and the Masons and modern Freemasonry being a Jesuit creation, meaning it's of the church, the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, when the Catholic Church got the agreement for people to worship the sun in the sky like pagans, and also the Son of God. And of course, the Catholic Church began celebrating the sun's birthday in the sky on December 25th in the year 274 AD. Isus Hominum Salvator equals 274, the Jesuit motto. And then 46 years later, they began celebrating Jesus' birthday on that day in 320 AD. Roman Catholic Church equals 320. The word Catholic alone is 46, like Joe Biden, number 46, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, who sacrificed his son at age 46, and who has the parallels with JFK, who was the only other Catholic president assassinated at age 46. But 325 goes back to the Council of Nicaea, the church. The church and Masonry, the real secret history. The Catholic Church supposedly banning Masonry when that's a joke, because, again, the Catholic Church is the Jesuits are behind modern Freemasonry, the Jesuits and Masons have been in D.C. since forever. But yeah, and the other thing about 113 is it's also a number of deception. And I just remember as a YouTube creator, when Russia-Ukraine launched, all of us who have the YouTube account where we can get super chats and all that, we all got the warning that if we questioned Russia-Ukraine, our finances could be cut off. And, you know, in the time of Russia-Ukraine, you've heard accusations of Zelensky being a Nazi and something going on with Nazis, and no, it's the other way around, and it could become a modern-day Holocaust. There's been all these little storylines, right? But again, that is the part of the world where Ashkenazi Jews are from, and just for a reminder of 113 and what it has to do with Judaism, because again, the teachings of Judaism, especially things like Kabbalah and lessons from the Old Testament, they're very important to Freemasonry. Again, all of Freemasonry's secrets are in Solomon's Temple, which is Old Testament. Again, Kabbalah, it relates to the Old Testament where this whole letters and numbers thing's from. But Bava Kama 113a in the Talmud says it's okay for Jews to lie to people who are not Jews as long as it's within a legal setting. And again, the clarification for why that is supposedly, going back to the time of Rome and beyond, people would murder people for being Jewish. So they say that the real reason that's in the Talmud is so that people could avoid being persecuted and killed for being Jewish. Anyway, it isn't, that's interesting, but again, the way this number is used all the time, as we're constantly documenting, as I've talked about a gazillion times over the last decade, it goes back to World War II. Auschwitz is where they've had to change the death toll many a times. And just words like mainstream, dishonest, not true, not honest, not factual, disinfo, politics, perjury, fiction, bullshit. The list goes on. Infidelity, a lot of things that have to do with dishonesty are 113. And again, it's a verse in the Talmud about where it's okay to use lies. So, and again, Russia-Ukraine was right after COVID, which was launched on when? The pandemic was launched on the 11th of March, 113. Coronavirus pandemic, 113. Like the National Basketball Association, like the only team that equals 113 in the league's Utah Jazz. Remember, they had to lock down the same day the pandemic was declared. And over the Frenchman, Rudy Gobert, when the Jesuits are from France, like the Scottish Rite. How it all comes together, 113. Kobe Bryant's another 113. Finished his career against the Utah Jazz. NBA staple. Dies and is buried in Corona Del Mar right at the start of coronavirus. Michael Jordan, another big 113. Okay, so I think we made it clear why it matters. 113 billion. Why 325 million more at the same time. Why after the 47th drawdown, where all of this intersects with Masonry and the numbers and the rituals and the symbolism. And I shouldn't say all of this because we're always learning more. Again, you comb through these holy books, you'll find where a lot of their number code comes from. And here, just to show you some other things, because we haven't talked about it for a long time. This post is from 2017. The L'Enfant plan is the French Freemason who laid out DC. Jewish Gematria is the most important cipher outside the base ciphers. It's got that 333, going with the 33s and Masons, and George Washington, who has the 333-foot tall temple built in his honor in Virginia. But France and DC, the land of 47, that we've talked about so many times. And here, let me pop open some of these other posts and see all what we got here. Okay, so look at this. The Masonic motto, the compass, set at 47 degrees at the Scottish Rite, it stands for, in their terminology, circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds, which is 333, like the L'Enfant plan. And if you write out 47th problem of Euclid, which is very important to the Masons, it's also 333, interesting enough. And if you don't take it with the numerology, circumscribe our desires and keep our passions within due bounds is 666, the number of the beast. The word beast is also 47. All you football fans know where the beast quake happened, up in Seattle on the 47th parallel, where it's always about 47. Like the All-Star game this year was there, and the AL stayed on 47 wins on July 11th. And the National League won their first game in 11 years on the 11th of the month. And Beast, the big way is 47, the small way it's 11. So nice tribute to the Beast there, where they have the Beast Quake with Marshawn Lynch. Yeah, there's some other things that are interesting. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty, but just some of the numbers we already talked about. And there's a lot more information here if you want to read about it. What it all means to them. Yeah, there's a lot of different things we could talk about, and a gazillion. I mean, we have endless examples. I have like 40,000 documentations just written, not counting all the videos and books. But Obama, who took office at age 47, they had to point out his 333 trips in office. It's not by accident, you guys. It's because just like how they etch on the building, all is number. That's what they etch on that house of the temple. All is number. And just because I didn't make a point clear, when I first started, I did almost all of my research in just one cipher, and it was the one that Manly P. Hall emphasized the most in his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. It's just the alphabetic order with numerology. Like we were saying, the House of the Temple has 33 columns that are each 33 feet tall. In this cipher, the alphabetic order with numerology, Masonry is 33, just like secrecy is 33, just like order's 33, just like federal. Big number. The rep digit of 3. And okay, so I just find it I find it ironic in my own life, or just, timing's funny. I was just down visiting my mother, and while I was visiting her, I walked past all my old schools. I don't walk enough these days, so I took a day to just walk all over town, and I walked down by my old elementary school and down by my old middle school and high school, and just everything's rebuilt, and everything looks like a fortress. Again, like I said, big metal gates everywhere, so it's like you can't get anywhere on the premises. And there was some instruction at one of the gates about how to get in a line. So I'm like, is that what they're doing now in the morning? Like making everybody get in a line out here before they let them in? But anyway. Here we are days later, and this is CNN's front page story it was all this morning. Let me see if it's still up there. They've changed it now. Chuck the Schmuck and Mitch McConnell the Turkey Gobbler. Okay, they took it down. But it was the top story for a lot of earlier today. Welcome to the new American classroom. And it talks about how there's a safety room for a shooter, how they got to block out all the window covers in schools, have the locked door, the bullet-resistant shades that come down. And again, it's just annoying because it's been the same thing from when I was in high school up to now to where we've gotten to this point. I was in high school when the Columbine shooting happened in 1999. And that same high school that's now torn down, we had an assembly after Columbine, and I'm sure everyone was mandated to do it. But we got called into the gymnasium, the school, big assembly to discuss the new name badge policy. We were all going to wear name badges now after Columbine to help us be safe. And, teenager, I just thought that was so dumb. I was like, okay, somebody wants to come and shoot the school. A name badge is going to help us out. How? And all it turned into was a stupid rule and a lot of detention time because I didn't want to participate just because I thought it was so dumb. And again, my life was the security guy on campus. When he'd see me without it, he'd go, "Hey, Hubbard, where's your name badge?" And I'd say, "What do I need a name badge for? You know my name. You know my first and last name." And depending on who was security that day, depending on if ended up getting detention or not, but it was just so annoying. And I was like, I'm not going to do something stupid, so I'm not wearing a name badge. It doesn't keep anyone safe. Anyway, it's gone from that to now tear down the school and build a fortress. And all this stuff is money, right? All this stuff is government tax money and going to contractors and putting money in pockets. And it's really part of this military state that runs the nation. Again, Eisenhower gave the speech as he was going out about the military-industrial complex and how if it's not stopped, it'll grow to be our worst nightmare. Again, you think about all the things that are encompassed in that, but one of them is this agenda, and I even made the point. Again, anybody who goes back and researches Columbine, the footage is out there. You can see the footage in the school, in the time of the shooting. There's all these people walking around with khakis and white shirts and clipboards and taking notes, and it just doesn't make any sense. It looks like it's some kind of drill experiment. And again, from Columbine up through now, none of these shootings that we've been told about, all of them, you haven't seen a single evidence of anything anywhere. All you've heard are news stories and interviews of people on TV that don't make sense. It's obvious that in all these stories, they're being contrived for an agenda because this is the world they want, and they want the psychological impact. Imagine what it is to go into school with all these safety protocols and constant thoughts of a mass shooter could be anywhere, and your school's having to do more and more and fortify more and more. I mean, just what does that do for your mindset about society? In a classroom, you have to be feeling also like your life's in danger. There could be a killer out there at any second. And again, this is what they want. They just want a society based in fear, that submits to authority, that gives up quality of life to be kept safe. And again, a lot of money's being made off this at our expense as well. None of this is good for us psychologically. I'm telling you, you take away this terrorist state that rules over us. There was no Columbine. There was no SH. There was no Uvalde. There was no a lot of these things. Virginia Tech, where 33 people were shot right outside the nation's capital. Could forget that one. And Blackwater, which equals 33. That's where that campus is. Like a witch's brew. But, yeah, this is just dumb. I mean, it really is just dumb that this is happening and people are allowing it to happen. It's just, it's gross. All of this stuff is a waste. All of us are having to work and slave away and pay all these taxes, and then it gets spent in these really dumb ways. Wars that don't need to happen. Super fortified schools with bulletproof windows. I mean, the only real threat is the same government we have to pay that's mandating all this. In case your school's the next one where they send their little patsy, their next Adam Lanza or whatever they're doing. If any of these shootings have happened, it's because the government patsy was sent there, the little MK Ultra project or whatever it is. That's why every one of these is a perfect ritual by the same new number code that we just keep talking about over and over. Okay, here's what I was going to tell you that was nice that happened today. So I was at the grocery store, and the guy in front of me, he doesn't like Gavin Newsom, and I caught wind of that because he was telling the clerk all about Gavin Gruesome. He kept calling him Gruesome instead of Newsom. Gavin Gruesome. Oh, Gavin Gruesome. After like the fourth time I heard it, I said, okay, I said, I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. I said, the reason I got to interrupt you is because I said, you're right, that guy is no good, and I want to tell you something. And he said, what's that? I said, do you remember that he was the first governor to lock down his state, California, over coronavirus? And he goes, I do recall that. And I said, if you go back and look in the transcript, what he said when he locked down the state is he told California he was locking it down because 56% would get the virus in 8 weeks. And of course, 8 weeks is 56 days. So effectively, he said 56% will get in 56 days. And I said, I'm just curious. I said, are you a Trump guy? He goes, well, I definitely like the Republicans a lot more. I said, I get that. I said, okay. I said, here's the connection between Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump. I said, they're both Jesuit educated. Trump went to Fordham. He went to Santa Clara. I said, in 2020, when all that stuff was happening, I said that was 56 years after Trump's Jesuit education began at Fordham. And then I said you had Cuomo in New York, the 56th governor who also went to Fordham. And then the clerk was like, whoa, how do you know all this stuff? And he's like, yeah, how do you know? I said, I have a book about it, and I've been following it and writing and speaking out about it, just like how you are here. And anyway, we were talking about it, and the clerk was real interested, and he was real interested, and maybe the lady behind me was interested, but she also looked like she had to get going. So anyway, he said, hey, let me get your number and information. I had a nice conversation with this guy. He's a former veteran. He's like, I got to tell my VA buddies about this. And anyway, the point is, you guys, this knowledge that we have, it's not, most people don't care, but there are a lot of people who are awake and do see what's wrong and are not happy about the way taxes are going and disagree with all the spending on Ukraine. If you can get this knowledge that we teach and articulate it in a way that's just simple like that, 56, because there's so much of that with coronavirus. Remember, I ended up telling about Gematria and toilet paper and how it's 56, and he's like, wow, you got to be kidding me. But it all made sense to him. He's like, it's incredible you figured this out, but man, does it make sense. I was talking about, the Jesuits, their history, D.C., modern Freemasonry, all his number. Explain it in a way that can be understood, that's based in real-world examples. And it makes it extra easy when a guy's in front of you ranting about Gavin Gruesome. But from talking to him, the clerk got into it. And then I don't know how many other people behind us were interested, but I could see the lady was listening behind me. But then I made the comment, like, here, we better finish up and we'll finish outside so the rest of you guys can get through the line. Because I was talking for a minute and you could tell the line was stopped. But the clerk wasn't hurrying me along either. They were interested. So, again, you guys, more people got to start speaking out. When an opportunity like that presents itself in society, the world just showed you an opportunity to share some information. There's somebody who's listening. Maybe along the way, two or three other people around in earshot, or maybe even more, will learn. Again, people just have to actually start speaking out about what's going on for those who know and get it. We have real information and facts on our side to back up everything we're saying. Think about the ritual with January 6th. Oh my God, 56 is all over that, and the impeachment, and just more 56s. All this stuff is such a joke. And then you got a guy like Woo's News, who somehow, I have some of you guys reaching out to me saying Woo's News has to be some kind of Illuminati agent to have all of that video footage. Again, I understand everybody questions everybody, but I don't know who Woo's News is. I just know that that video is definitive proof of how big of a lie January 6th is. And it just backs up everything that we've been saying. And again, it's just more people got to share information, get the word out there, speak up where they can, strike up conversations where they can. And that's the only way the world's going to change. Right now, my people suffer for lack of knowledge. You know, this guy I was talking to, he was just mind blown by all this, that it's this system. And then I point out to him, I said, it's deep because it goes back to the 56 signers on the Declaration of Independence. And he thought about that. He's like, in a way, it kind of all makes sense. And I was like, it does, doesn't it? I mean, people want to control other people. There's people who want to control other people. Not all people want to control other people. But you know how it is. Anyone who's had to be in any kind of group function, there's usually somebody in that group who wants to be the most in control and tell other people what to do. That's the way humanity is. And we've allowed a group of controller psychopaths to rule over us. But yeah, this article too, they said the new school, not only is it more fortified, it will have more active shooter drills. It was already bad enough, you guys. The last time I taught in public school was the year before Sandy Hook happened. I was working at a private school in 2012, the year Sandy Hook happened. That was my last year working in the school system. And don't forget, Sandy Hook, established in 1956, and the school shooting 56 years later in 2012, and Adam Peter Lands is 56, and remember the guy who supposedly died, Patrick Dragon, who was a first responder to Sandy Hook. He supposedly died from COVID, and coronavirus is 56, and the first shots for COVID were given to a woman named Sandy Lindsay on the anniversary of Sandy Hook, December 14th. But I was going to say, the year I was in public school, Sandy Hook hadn't happened. I mean, this is like 2011. 99's when Columbine happened, so it's 12 years later. Pretty frequently, 3-4 times a year, we did do a gunman shooter type drill in the school, and what it was is one of the faculty members would go down the hall. It'd be announced over the intercom that it was going to be the drill, and then the faculty member would go down the hall banging on people's doors and just trying to like simulate, aggressiveness and chaos, and everybody was supposed to turn off the light in the room and hide in a corner. And if you had a window on your door, be somewhere in a corner where nobody could be seen through that window. So this was already going on in public schools. I was in a public school in the Seattle area when we were doing that, and it wasn't abnormal. It's what the rest of the schools were doing too, but I never liked it, and I just thought, and I was just annoyed because I'm the same person who was questioning Columbine from the beginning. But anyway, the new schools, more active shooter drills, and they're already doing way more than back then. So it's like, God, how many is it going to be? Is it going to be an active shooter drill like what, bi-weekly? They're going to do 30 over the course of the year? Might as well just send them off to the Marines. Safe rooms, bulletproof backpacks. I mean, if you would have asked me 20 years ago if in the future people would be wearing bulletproof backpacks and we'd be arguing about if men should be able to compete against women in college sports, I thought, that's not going to happen. Wrong. I couldn't have predicted those things. Everything else that's happening, I could have predicted. In fact, I expected everything that else is going on, but God, bulletproof backpacks and... Anyway, the American classroom is changing. Yeah, not for the better. Not that it was ever good either. It's been bad the whole time. Look, if you have to judge the nation based on its education system, what do you see? What's the average? Close your eyes and think about the average 40-year-old adult right now in the United States. I'm 40, so I just use that age group. But, I mean, when I think of the average 40-year-old from being out in public right now, I think about, barely getting by, obese, not knowing much about anything, just loves to be entertained, and Disney vacations, and I mean, it's just not a good look. It's like an unhealthy, definitely unhealthy, and just like not adequate either. I mean, just not adequate. Doesn't know things they need to know. Doesn't know anything about anything really. Football games, consumer brands, sports teams, movies. That's it. But anyway, also just the stuff they have to put in there, just their inexact reporting. Look at this line right here. This year, at least 37 shootings were reported on K-12 school grounds. At least 37, is that right? At least 37. Shooting has that gematria 37, which is the 12th prime going with K through 12. Imagine if they taught this in schools. CNN had this story up today on a date with 74 numerology. That's the big active shooter number that we talk about all the time in these events. And of course, this is the reaction to the active shooter. Okay, now Deion Sanders. Again, he's 56 years old right now. Obama, the first African-American president, winner of the 56th election. Lori Lightfoot, with the same birthday, becomes the 56th mayor of Chicago. Black Lives Matter has that gematria 56. Black Power has that gematria 56. Black Power and the Black Panthers, all the original meetings in Catholic churches. Again, Society of Jesus 56, the Jesuits who serve the Catholic Church. But Deion Sanders getting all this attention at age 56 after supposedly having to have his toes amputated. And you know how many times I've taught about Colorado in 38? You know, I always say, like, it's one of the best plays in sports when you have a Colorado 38 ritual. His son, Deion Sanders' son, who's the quarterback, his birthday is February 7th, the 38th day of the year. And I want you to see something about, here, again, let's just pull out the base ciphers here. Colorado with the alphabetic order is 83. Last year, their football stadium caught on fire on the 83rd day of the year. But look at this. Deion Sanders' full name. His full name and his son's name. Again, he's 56 right now. Born August 9, 1967. All of his teams are undefeated in the NFL. But his full name, in that most pure cipher, 83. And then his son's name, who I still do not know how to pronounce or say, but his son's name. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology, his son's name's 83. His name's 83, son's name's 83, son's born on the 38th day of the year, and now they're at Colorado in this big story at age 56 after he leaves the historically black college Jackson State. Right at the same time, we're getting Ketanji Brown Jackson is the 116th Supreme Court Justice. And again, remember everything they did with Ketanji Brown Jackson. African Americans 116, she's number 116. Her name, Ketanji Brown Jackson, equals 71 like African American in the same cipher. And then in reverse, 289 African American. She became Supreme Court Justice, put on the bench 289 days from her birthday. So last year on Michael Jackson's birthday, NASA was trying to do their latest moon mission. Jackson, Mississippi was flooded. Deion's out of town on his way to Colorado. And Colorado, in the modern terms, thought of as a predominantly white, one of the whiter states in America. But look at him with his Jesus piece up there, right? The Rock, who was in Disney's 56th animated film Moana, where he played Maui, where he introduced the new movie, perfectly synced up with Maui burning up, only for Slow Joe to arrive on Hawaii's 64th birthday when Joe Biden's 64. Anyway, we covered a lot on what really went down in Hawaii recently and where The Rock fits in with his Maui character, the Polynesian fire god. But Neon Deion must be the money, 56 years old. And you know what? You know what's awesome about how, like, there's never been so much attention on a Colorado-Oregon football game ever. And funny enough, coming into this game, I have to do more research on this, but I'm saying just what are the odds that it's this way right now? You see how Colorado's 83 in the most simple cipher? Oregon's the only state that's 74. Right now, Oregon right now is 7-3 at home all time against Colorado, right? So, again, we talked about the big connection with 83, but Oregon loves the number 74, so I'll do a little more homework, but either way, they're hitting the symbolic state number after this game that gets all this attention. And notice how Oregon's 88 in reverse. Remember their first game of the year, it was an all-Oregon match. They played Portland State and beat them 88 to... Or no, hold on. They beat them 7... Wait. Hold on. Oregon, Portland State box score? That's what it was. They beat them 7-81. So 88 points in the game, and they beat them by 74. They beat them by 74, 88 combined points. And this goes on all the time in scripted sports, college and pro. talking about Oregon and their rituals year after year. So, anyway, if this stuff doesn't bother you, like, it's amazing. You have to understand our lives are being played with. We're being manipulated. We're being forced into things we should never have to do. We shouldn't have to slave away and then pay all this money to this tyrannical government. You know? And if you're someone like, oh, well, these things are only happening because of the pandemic and then because Russia-Ukraine broke up. No, you need to pull your head out of your ass. Those things happened because psychopaths are in power who plan them for their ongoing agenda that has been going on for a long, long time, really since the beginning of this country. They came over here and put all those fancy symbols on all their crap, the Roman architecture, what's all over our dollar bills. This has been going on. By the way, the Federal Reserve was established while Woodrow Wilson was 56, right after he got done from visiting over in Europe, the land of the Jesuits, which is really this whole world now, but that's where they came from originally. And, yeah, all this stuff, man. And it's all just like supposed to be Deion Sanders' audacious blackness makes him the hero African Americans want right now. Deion Sanders is refusing to code switch. Black America is noticing. It's like, God, what I'm noticing is just what a joke all this is. By a code. Keep people just distracted, caught up in the same stereotypes, calling people black and white, dividing amongst color. You know, we were out in Seattle. A lot of people got mad about the other men who got on the mic. Again, I said to the public, it was open mic night. Somebody else wants to come up and talk. It's open. Those guys seized the moment. If you watched us out in Seattle. But, you know, one of the gentlemen, he went on for a while about how dumb it is that we identify by all these colors when none of us are really those colors. And that's just the game to keep us all looking at ourselves like we're something different from one another. I think he said we should all just refer to each other as Creole, I think he said, because that just means mixed. He said at the end of the day, we're all mixed. That is true, but no doubt about it. They want us all focused on everything we can divide over. And sadly, one of the things we're divided over is, sadly, that it's very disproportionate the way the division is. Some of society thinks what's on the news is authentic and being reported in our best interest, and then some of us see that the news is an information weapon that's behind big agendas and lying to us nonstop so that we'll go along with the next war and the next lockdown and then the next jab and whatever else the next thing is they want us to do. We got to persuade more people to see it our way, but that's another division in society, and that division brought it out and for a lot of families. A lot of families became more divided in the time of COVID over jabs and what they thought about what was going on in the world. All right, shout out to John Mendoza. He said, I would ride my bike to school. Now kids can't. Is that true? They don't let kids ride to school? I remember I got my bike stolen from my middle school. I had one of those plastic metal bar chains and somebody cut it. It was disappointing for me. I had my it was a newer BMX bike that I had bought with my paper route money. I had to go back to the Schwinn for a minute. Oh, yeah. I was trying to decipher this comment. So 49ers, again, using the knowledge, we thought Deebo Samuel was good for a touchdown and Christian McCaffrey because they were going to hit the TNF numbers. We thought if Niners won, they should cover the or should win by 13 or more. The spread was about 11. They won by 18, but we thought 13 or more because it was a good number with Brock Purdy and TNF as Deebo Samuel got his 13th career touchdown and the Niners got their 13th home win. But again, last night's game was hosted by the 49ers of San Francisco, where the Church of Satan's from. Don't forget, Church of Satan's another 56, and Anton LaVey died in a big Jesuit ritual. But the Giants last night got their 666th franchise loss in the Bay Area, where the San Francisco Giants are as well, who used to be the New York Giants. Last night, the Giants and Dodgers just happened to be playing each other in MLB. Both came over from New York. But, yeah, that is interesting that the Giants got that 666th franchise loss in the home of the Church of Satan, San Francisco. Shout out to Logan Thomas. Some scratch for a new bike fun, huh? Appreciate that. Yeah, you know, the when I got my bike stolen, I said I had to go back to the Schwinn for a little bit. Um, but the reason I ended up getting my bike back is somebody realized they'd stolen the bike from me. And then they knew me and they liked me, so they brought the bike back. He was a grade above me. His name was Jeremy with the red hair. But, yeah, I remember how devastated I was when I found out my bike had got stolen. It was nice to get it back, so... Anyway, appreciate it, Logan. These days, it's the overpriced gas fund. And again, if you don't know about that overpriced gas, go back and watch Bill Gates' 2010 TED Talk and just be amazed at everything he says in it. It'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind thoroughly. Everything he talked about in his 2010 Innovating to Zero presentation, it's pretty much going on today. All right. Well, I think those were the main points that I wanted to get out there. And here, let me just make sure there's no other headlines as of today that I should be covering. As COVID-19 hospitalizations climb, rates among seniors and children raise concern. Well, you should know better than to go to those places. Ooh, boy. Senator with a stash of gold bars, huh? All right, but yeah, that's it for now. Schumer and McConnell. Oh, hold on. Let me just talk about one more thing, actually, that I should have brought up. In light of what's going on with Ukraine and the numbers there, the 325 and the 113, this as well. You know, here's other numbers at the same time with the whole masonry thing. They're holding interest rates at 7%. The G is the Mason's logo, the big G, which is the seventh letter. And while they're holding interest rates at about 7%, the U.S. national debt topped 33 trillion with a T. And that happened on September 18th, which is the day in history the cornerstone was laid for Washington, D.C. in the Masonic ritual by George Washington. That was September 18th, 1793, same day the CIA was created in 1947. But again, that 33 trillion on that anniversary date, I mean, what are the odds? These symbolic numbers, Masonry 33. Here, there's something interesting about the letter G itself, too. There's a cipher. Derek renamed all the ciphers. I think it's now called capitals added, yeah. So all this ciphers, notice if I write lowercase g, they're both 7, right? Lowercase g, ordinal 7, capitals added 7, capital G. The difference in that cipher is lowercase a through z is 1 through 26, and uppercase a through z is 33. So capital G is 33, going with the Masons logo, right? Interest rates at 7, national debt at 33 trillion, all the big Masonic numbers on Ukraine as we began with. And here, just to go back to, if you guys have not read my books, I talk about these numbers in both books. You can get them in ebook version from my website. You can order number games from pretty much any bookseller website and get the actual physical copy, or you can get the ebook versions as instant downloads from my website, GematriaEffect.news. But I talk about all these numbers in both books. But in Number Games, the more recent book, again, I was pointing out what was going on with all of the huge lending for the COVID lockdowns. And if you go to page 26 of the black and red book, Number Games, bottom paragraph of page 26, I'll read a little bit. Again, it's better if you read it really from the beginning of the chapter, but I just want to go over the 325 thing that I cover throughout the book and starting early in it. Remember, Biden just sent another $325 million to Ukraine after $113 billion, just like how we had the lockdowns on March 11th for the pandemic in 2020, 11/3, and then the huge bank loans that were given out to world governments, including the U.S., while the Bank of England, where really this all goes back to, is 325 years old. But I said, coming back to the Latin phrase, ad merum Dei gloriam, it means for the greater glory of God. The translated phrase sums to 351 with reverse simple English, the 26th triangular number, bringing us back to the simple English gematria of God, summing to 26. And on the subject, let us now appreciate how the Council of Nicaea in the year 325, that was held by the Catholic Church to bring about how to worship the offspring of God, factors in. To make a long story short, the church, who had brought many pagans under its rulership, was having trouble with people worshiping the sun in the sky instead of worshiping the Son of the Virgin Birth, who died on the cross for man's sins. And this was a problem they wanted remedied. Hold on. Following the trail of the Catholic Church giving birth to the Knights Templar, and the Knights Templar being the roots of modern Freemasonry, and that you must believe in God, or G-D to be a Freemason, and Catholicism worshiping the Son of God, established and made clear in the year 325, it makes sense that Scottish Rite of Freemasonry sums to 325 using simple English gematria. At the same time, City of London Corporation sums to 325 with reverse simple English gematria. And again, that's where the bank is that turned 325 at the same time all of this was going down. And realize, once they got done with the war on germs and making all their money on that, then they fire up the war with Russia and Ukraine and are making even more money by the same number code with the same patterns as we've been discussing for all these years. So, yeah, just the 325 thing is covered, and I cover it again on page 61, 142, 181. The Simpsons episode about like a bad pandemic, it's called Apocalypse Meow. It released on the 325th day of the year. Go figure. One of the big signing dates for the big loans was also on March 25th of 2020, 325 as well. Donald Trump putting his signature all over the place, making a lot of money for the bankers who once bailed him out with his failed businesses. Okay, let me see. All right, some good observations in the chat. But yeah, those were the main thoughts I wanted to get out there today. And again, essentially what's happening is society's just getting hustled. This gang just hustles society. You know, and they keep everybody pointing their finger at everyone but the real culprit. And they get away with it. That's what's got to change. These people need to get found out. Yeah, and again, for all the trolls who never call in when I give them the opportunity to, like, how do you seriously choose to harass me and troll me and slander me and cut up my videos to try and make me look bad when these people are ruling over you too and making you pay taxes to them? Like, or maybe it's because, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with these people. People are insane. So. All right, but thanks again to everyone who does support the work. If we can get support back up by the end of the year, again, what I'd really like to see is somehow the support comes back up, and just like I've been saying, get out there with the short books, which I'll have out in no time, and be out, you know, in front of all these people who are looking for truth and real leadership and answers to what's going on. People who are caught in the deception of Donald Trump, the Jesuit puppet, they need to wake up, just like Biden, just like all these people. And we have the information to get out there and get in front of people and persuade them and convince them and help them see the forest for the trees. So, again, thank you to everyone who supports the work and helps with that mission. And I hope that is the case, because next year is definitely going to be a big year, and humanity needs to wake up, or we're going to get driven off the cliff. That's where they're taking us to. All right, Truth Seeker. That's it for now. Be sure to support everyone else doing the good work. Amy cracked their code. Nathan disambiguation. Kayla decode talker. Everybody else doing the good work. And thank you for hitting the like and share. Again, that helps out with the algorithm. Till next time.